Okay, so good evening, ma'am. I am Maygrace Dela cerna. So I will be discussing the what media literacy is not, and then the digital literacy, all the digital literacy. So what media literacy is not? So given the broad and somewhat nebulous nature of media literacy, its implied definition can be gleaned by understanding what media literacy is not. So nowadays, as what we have observed that media literacy is often misunderstood. But to clarify, it's not simply about using media, liking or disliking it, or passively consuming it. But instead, media literacy it really involves analyzing and understanding the media message, recognizing their impact, and use media effectively and responsibly. And also, this media literacy it are really encouraging or engaged now using media thoughtfully rather than just reacting to it. So this following is a list of actions that are often mistaken for being representative of media literacy. The center of media literacy. So first one we have criticizing the media is not and of itself. Media literacy, however, being media literate sometimes requires that one indeed criticize that one sees and hears. So when criticizing the media is not the same as media literate, but it's often it's often what we call that involves critically analyzing what you see and what you hear. So next we have the merely producing media is not media literacy. Although part of being media literate is the ability to produce media. So when we only consider ourselves as media literate if we know or if we have the ability to access, evaluate, analyze, and create media in a critical or in an informed way. So this means that having the ability to access and analyze and create media in a critical or in an informed way, we can produce also media. So media literacy goes beyond creating media. Being media literate means critically engaging with media to interpret its message and impact. So if you consider yourself as a media literate, no, you can be able to interpret the media message. You can be able to know their impacts, analyze the media literacy. But yeah, sometimes people would say that if they heard media literacy, if they heard from the word media literacy, like they say that media literacy is all about how to use media, how to what are the benefits of the media literacy, but it's not like that. When we say media literacy, it has something to do with media. Like it helps us people to analyze, to understand the media message, and we can be able to interpret now what that's mean, or we can be able to recognize the impact of the media literacy in our lives or in the lives of the what we call the other people also. So next, we have the teaching with media. Video presentations does not equal media literacy, and education in media literacy must also include teaching about media. So remember that teaching with media is not the same as teaching about media. So when we say teaching with media, so when we use media in teaching, um, it's about delivering content through using videos or what we call that presentations in your discussions so that the students would be able to know what you are trying to perceive like that. So in teaching about media is you are going to teach about media like that. What are the what are the impacts of media literacy like that. So next we have viewing media and analyzing it from a single perspective is not media literacy. True media literacy, it requires both the ability and willingness to view and analyze media from multiple positions and perspectives. So you are not considered as media literate if you are going to view only one or single perspective. No, it's not considered as media literacy. Um, but if you are going to view a lot of or multiple perspective and positions, yes, if you analyze also the media, you can consider it can consider as the media literacy. Next, we have the media literacy does not simply mean knowing what not to watch. Is that mean watch carefully or think critically? So media literacy is not teaches us on knowing what not to watch, but it also or it does mean like we have to be careful of what we are going to watch. We have to think critically before we post or before we do something. So next we have the challenges to media literacy education. So one glaring challenge to teaching media literacy is how do we teach it? Teaching it as a subject in itself might not be feasible given how overburdened the curriculum is at the moment, while integrating it into the subjects that are currently being taught might not be enough to teach what are essentially media consumption habits, skills, and attitudes that are learned by doing and repetition rather than by mere classroom discussion according to Coltai 2011. So, um, so one of the major challenge to teaching media literacy is finding or figuring out how to teach media literacy or how to teach effectively. No, like nowadays, like something if in that specific school or in that specific curriculum, there's na sila magdugang sila o kanabitang separate subject which is kana siyang subject is PAC curricula. And then if they're going to integrate that existing skills, there might be possibility that dili ma-fully develop ang mga necessary skills sa mga students or in that like what we call that in that separate subject. So yes. Next, we have Livingstone and Van Geer Graph 2010 identified how to measure media literacy and evaluate the success of media literacy initiatives as being one of the more pernicious challenges facing educators in the 21st century for the simple reason that if we cannot somehow measure the presence of media literacy in our students, how do we know if we have actually taught them? So, measuring literacy in students is really difficult because media literacy really involves critical thinking, no analyzing, and also creating about media literacy. So, in order to develop the students' media literacy skills, now you would have to, or it really requires flexible assessments methods so that they would be able to develop their media literacy skills like that. They would what we call that encounter, or they would requires flexible assessment methods like that. So media literacy is not just about teaching, but also finding effective and practical ways to measure media literacy. So like what I've said earlier, that media literacy is not just also about teaching about media, on how to use it properly or in how to use it appropriately. But it's not just like that. Media literacy is also finding effective now for us to be able to measure the media, for us to be able to analyze, understand the media message, and help us to interpret that message or in that text. So it really essential for us as a students or as a teachers also. Next we have, let us proceed now to the digital literacy. So what's a digital, okay. In the first chapter, we read how G. Hall and Lam, Cheer 1996, noted how literacy always has something to do with reading the text, with understanding, and that there are many kinds of text, and each of requires a specific set of skills to understand and make meaning out of them. So, yes, no, like what we call that literacy, it really involves understanding different type of text, knowledge to inquire, unique skills to interpret the message, like that. So this digital literacy and media literacy, there is a relationship. Now there is a relationship between the two. So let's find out later. And digital literacy, also called e-literacy, kini siya e-literacy is what also we call that traditional literacy. So kini siya nga literacy, digital literacy is like a traditional literacy. Yes, cyber literacy and even information literacy by some authors is no different, although how the text can actually be image, sound, video, music, or a combination theory. So digital literacy, like a traditional literacy, so like what I said earlier, it really involves understanding various forms of media, now through including the videos, text, music, or a combination theorem like that. Next, we have the digital literacy can be defined as the ability to locate, evaluate, create, and communicate information on various digital platforms. Put more broadly, it is technical, cognitive, and sociological skills needed to perform tasks and skills and problems in digital information by, according to Ishit Alkalai 2004. So when we say digital literacy, or if we consider ourselves as a digital literate, it really like it means that you have the ability to find, evaluate, and communicate information using typing or media platforms. So, like the example of these media platforms like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Telegram, WhatsApp, and many more. So next, let us proceed to the resource literacy. So when we say resource literacy, it is the understanding forms and access to information resources. So it is the individual's abilities to understand the forms of access information resources, no, for them to be able to get resource to the literacy. Next, we have the structural literacy. It is our ability to understand the production and social significance of information. So next we have research literacy, using IT tools for research and scholarship. So research literacy, no, it is our ability to research something through using the IT tools or mga ICT technologies like that. Publishing literacy, ability to communicate and publish information. So, publishing literacy, it is our ability to publish information so that everyone could get information. Everyone will be would aware what are you trying to like convey, or if you are going to create message, text, music or videos, so that they would be able to interpret your what are you trying to perceive like that. Next, we have emerging technologies literacy. It is understanding of new developments in IT, and critical literacy. It is also the ability to evaluate the benefits of new technologies. Note that this literacy is not the same as critical thinking, which is often rewarded as a component of information literacy. So let us proceed. So it should also come as no surprise that digital literacy shares a great deal of overlap with media literacy. So much so that digital literacy can be seen as a subset of media literacy, dealing particularly with media in digital form. The connection should be fairly obvious if media literacy is the ability to identify different types of media and understand the message they are communicating, and digital literacy can be seen as media literacy applied to the digital media. So, if there is the connection, or if there is a relationship between the media literacy and digital literacy, so that the people would be able to communicate other people across the world. They would communicate with their families from far, and also they would publish information so that the people would be able to know your your what we call that informations like that. And also we have the term digital literacy is not new. According to Laneham 1995, in one of the earliest examples of a functional definition of the term described the digital literate person. Now, if you consider yourself as a digital literate person, make it sure that you have a lot of abilities and you are skilled enough to understand the meanings of image, sounds, and the subtle uses of the words, so that he or she could match the medium of communication to the kind of information being presented to whom the intended audience is. So 2 years later, Paul Gilster, 1997, formally defined digital literacy as the ability to understand and use information in multiple formats. So in media literacy, it is the ability to analyze, evaluate, create media in a critical or informed way. While here in digital literacy, it really what we call that our ability to understand and use information in multiple formats from a wide range of sources when it is presented via computers. Now, it has helped us to understand how to use different various forms of media platforms like that, on how to use Facebook, Instagram properly and yes, appropriately. So it is really important to us as a students or to people to know or to understand the media literacy and digital literacy for us to be able to have a safe yes accounts, and also for us to be able to understand, communicate people across the world rather. Next we have underpinnings. So first is refer to those skills and competencies that support or enable everything else within the digital literacy, namely traditional literacy and computer ICT literacy, the ability to use computers in everyday life. First, we have the background knowledge. This largely refers to knowing where information on a particular subject or topic that can be found, how information is kept, and how it is disseminated, a skill taken for granted back in a day when information almost exclusively resided in the form of printed text. So, and also we have the third one. We have also the central competencies. So when we say central competencies, these are the skills and competencies that a majority of scholars agree on as being core to digital literacy today. Namely, first, we have the reading and understanding digital and non-digital formats, creating and communicating digital information, evaluation of information. First, third one, we have the knowledge assembly. Fourth one, we have information literacy. And the fifth one, we also have the media literacy. Now let us proceed to the attitudes and perspective according to Bowden 2008. So according to him, he suggested that it is these attitudes and perspective that link digital literacy today with traditional literacy. He saying that it is not enough to have skills and competencies, they must be also grounded in some moral framework specifically. So according to Bowden 2008, that it is not enough not to have skills and competencies, but we also have this independent learning and moral social literacy, because it is really essential for us as a students to have these attitudes and perspective. First, we have the independent learning. So when we say independent learning, the initiative and ability to learn whatever is needed to a person's specific situation. So independent learning, that it is like you can be able to learn, or you can be able to yes understand or learn without any help of the other people. Yes, you are like independent person to learn something for you to be able to understand, like in a specific situation like that. Next, we have the moral social literacy and understanding of correct, acceptable, and sensible behavior in a digital environment. So if you have this moral social literacy, you can also understand what is the right and wrong. You help understand what is correct, what is acceptable, and sensible behavior in a digital environment. Yes. And also, let us proceed to the information literacy within digital literacy, given the ease with which digital, as opposed to traditional print media, can be edited and manipulated. The ability to approach it with a healthy amount of skepticism has become a survival skill for media consumers. According to Egypt, Alkali 2004 draws attention to information literacy as a critical component of digital literacy. Next is we have the information literacy within digital literacy. So this information literacy is really important now for us to be able to act as a filter by which consumers evaluate the veracity of the information being presented to them via digital media, and thereupon sort of erroneous, irrelevant, and biased from that what is demonstrated factual. Next, we have the social-emotional literacy within digital literacy. Alongside information literacy, according to Ishut and Alcali 2004, highlights a kind of social-emotional literacy needed to navigate the internet raising questions such as how do I know if another user in a chat room or who he says he is, or how do I know if a call for blood donations on the internet is real or hoax. Now, social emotional literacy within digital literacy is also you have when you say social, like you also have the right to ask no about your what we call that your reactions or your perceptions or anything that you are going to ask to other people no like how do I know if a call for blood donations on the internet is real or hoax, or we say or hoax, or it is real or not? So this social emotional literacy requires users to be very critical. Now, if you are this social emotional literacy, now it's really important for us because it helps us to be very critical and help us to think critically before we are going to what we call that before we are going to use digital literacy or before we going to ask some questions that we need to need answers like that. So yes, next we have digital literate users know how to avoid traps. Now, you only consider yourself as a digital literate if you know how to avoid mistakes. You know how to avoid traps of cyberspace mainly because they are familiar with the social and emotional patterns of working in a cyberspace that it is really just an outworking of human nature like that. So when you are digital literate, no, like what I've said earlier, that you know how to avoid mistakes, you know how to avoid traps, you know how to be safe, how to use your account safely and before you safely, and you also have the you also it really involves critical thinking if you are going to if when you are digital literate, no, you have that higher order thinking skills. And digital natives, when we say digital natives, the term digital natives has become something of a buzzword in the education sector over. So for me, digital natives is that when you are born with digital like digital world, like if bata pa ka, kabalo na ka, you are born with like cell phones, like you know how to use cell phones, laptops, computers, using some media platforms like that. That's the digital natives. You born with like there is digital, no, like that. There is internet that you can communicate, that you can use for you to be able. You can only use for education, most especially for teaching and learning, and also for your work. Yes. We also have, despite the fact that Print Key's original paper was not that an academic one and had no empirical evidence to support its claims, educators and parents alike latched onto the term spawning, a school of thought wherein the decline of modern education is explained by educators' lack of understanding of how digital natives learn and make decisions. Like that. So, however, a popular misconception born out the term digital natives and the educational ideas it's found is that the questions how can digital immigrants teach digital natives literacy they already have no is a valid one to which the answer would be correctly they cannot, but the problem here is that digital literate is popularly defined as the ability to use computers or use the internet, which as we have seen earlier. Yes. So that would be all about the media literacy is not up to the digital literacy. Thank you.